From Washington, D.C. to the Central Coast, this is Focus with Farr, where our representative in Washington hosts in-depth discussions of important issues of the day. And now, Congressman Sam Farr.
Good morning. Welcome to another session with Focus with Farr. I'm very pleased today to have a close friend, a lifelong friend, George Miller, Congressman from Contra Costa County, whose father served in the California State Senate with my father, Fred Farr, and we got to know each other as young kids running around the state capitol. Today, George is chair of the most powerful committee in Congress on education and labor, so all of the issues dealing with education and particularly what goes on in the cafeteria, which is a relatively new issue for us to discuss, but so important in America because of the healthcare issue. If we're going to have prevent illness, we're going to have to do it by preventing obesity and preventing programs where children are growing up not qualifying to enter the military, not qualifying to enter other programs and ending up with diseases of lifelong diseases that we can prevent. So we're going to discuss nutrition. And it just so happens that it's a timely thing to discuss because Monterey County, Santa Cruz, and San Bernardino County just released their crop reports. And Monterey County just found that they've had in excess of $4 billion in sales. And if you think about it, what do we grow on the Central Coast? We grow fresh vegetables. And what do we need people to eat in this country? Fresh vegetables. And where do we need them to eat that? In schools. So George Miller has the responsibility of marking up a bill, the Child Nutrition Bill, and I want to welcome you to our program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership. You've done a lot of great things this year. Tell us a little about how you tackle marking up the bill, which means you're going to reauthorize it and rewrite it and rethink it and all of those things.
Well, we've been meeting with groups all across the country that are interested in child nutrition. In many cases, they're medical groups. They're the people who serve the school lunch program in our schools. They're nutritionists who are very concerned about the dietary habits of young people. And we think with this reauthorization, the rewriting of this act for the next 5 years, that we really now have a chance to integrate into this program some of the things that we've learned over the last several years about how to improve the diet of young people in schools. You know, we have this tragedy of very young children presenting now with adult onset health problems that we would see in 50, 60, 70-year-old people we're now seeing in very young children in elementary school. A lot of it is driven by bad diet, a lot of it's driven by obesity, and then we get diabetes, and then we get heart problems and all of these things. So this is really a chance for us to look at this in a comprehensive fashion and bring together our best knowledge about better foods, safer foods, fresher foods available to children year-round, throughout the school day, from early in the morning until after school programs for enrichment or educational or mentoring programs that are going on. The research is, as you know, Sam, because you're a student of the research between healthy eating and young children and their ability to focus and benefit from classroom time is just absolutely linked. Children that have access to that breakfast, whether it's at home or if they don't have access at home, in the schools, and their ability to participate and benefit from the school day is dramatically improved. And we can't waste that opportunity.
Well, it's amazing what I've seen in my lifetime, and your lifetime too. When we were children, you know, our parents fed us, we went off to school, there was a cafeteria in the school, you went through the lunch line, you ate in the lunchroom, it was fresh produced every day in the cafeteria. And that's the way it was. And what's happened over the years is people don't realize is that sort of just collapsed. And in essence, what you don't have is, particularly in urban cities, you don't have that lunchroom anymore. So what happens is schools get these commodity, bags of grain, bags of rice, bags of peanut butter, jars of peanut butter, and so we don't have anybody to prep this. So they send it out to these professional, private, in most cases, contractors, processors. And then they add salts and sugars and other kinds of things, and the school gets back essentially fast food, pizzas, stuff like that. And that's been going along without much people looking at it until recently, when I think parents have frankly led the issue by knowing that their children need healthy things to eat. And those parents started asking principals and superintendents and school boards, hey, what are you feeding I've been talking about the classroom and what you're doing to teach my child in the classroom. Now I'm interested, what are you feeding my kid in the lunchroom? Right. And that's begun a whole new political movement. And frankly, California seems to be way ahead of it, because particularly in the Bay Area that you represent, what Alice Waters done and being able to bring gardens into schools to get kids to really understand the science of gardening at an early age. We've got some wonderful programs in our area. And now it's sort of, how do you move this into a whole national standard and pay for it? Because frankly, it's an extremely expensive program.
It's very expensive. We will, in the new legislation that we've introduced, the Improving Nutrition for America's Children Act, we will, for the first time in many, many, many years, provide an actual increase in the reimbursement rate to local districts, hopefully 6 cents, so that they can do some of these things. We've always given them a cost of living increase, but that just reflects the increased cost of food and service and salaries that have to do this. So we're hoping to get a step up, and so that they will be able to provide better nutrition, better foods, and safer foods for our children, because we know the school lunch program and the school nutrition programs are implicated in if we have food recalls, but there's really hasn't been great communication between the schools and dangerous foods that they may have, and we've had hearings on this, and we think we're integrating that so parents will have greater confidence. We also have to understand that there's especially in this economy, there's a significant number of families, and many of them aren't willing to admit it, they aren't public about it. They're really scrambling to have enough food to feed their children throughout the month. So this program becomes very important for many, many, many families who never thought they would be in this situation, but they are now. But one of the exciting things we're going to be able to do is some of the work you did in the Farm Bill last time with fresh fruits and vegetables. And of course, this is exciting for us, California, both as a producer and a consumer. And the theory was that the children would only eat processed foods. They would only eat pizza. They would only eat some other kinds of processed foods that you just described. What we now know, if it's available and they're given a little bit of education, they're given the choice, they will in fact take it. We now see if you simply place it at strategic places within the cafeteria or in the classroom, children will go pick up the carrots and the celery and the tomatoes and like them and use them. It's not punishment. We always acted like that was punishment. And so we now have access, and one of the things we want to do, these are things that you brought to this bill, is to have salad bars.
In every school.
In every school. And so we have to provide the money so they can get the equipment to do that. And present it in a marketable way, just as you would if you went in and saw a salad bar in a restaurant. When we see in my district up in Vacaville, when I see that this is done, the uptake of those fresh fruits and vegetables by the kids is really quite dramatic.
And a lot of those fresh fruits and vegetables are donated by the industry. We're fortunate in California that we have so much we even have access. So that's shipped off to the commercial side is given to the schools just free. Yeah. And so those of us that live in communities that have access, as you do in the Bay Area and we do in the Salinas and Pajaro Valleys, those schools are blessed to have all this fresh fruits and vegetables. But you get into urban schools in Chicago and New York and so on that don't have that.
It's tough.
What is also interesting, and I'm really pleased that you're taking this on, because you're willing to challenge some of the assumptions here that have been made historically. As you know, programs get created and then nobody goes back and checks them. One of the things that I've found in this program is just the incredible cost of overhead, because we require every day, every child has to prove that they're poor. That means that the poorest people who have the least access to information have to go out and fill out like a tax form proving that they're poor so that their child can get a free or reduced meal. The overhead costs of doing that when the parent may, because if they're poor, chances are they're receiving food stamps. We don't call that anymore, but that's...
They're receiving nutritional supplements, they're receiving Medicaid, they may be in the Women's, Infants, and Children's program. And this is, we're doing this because of Sam Farr, because he's been pounding this, and what we realize, and I think what more and more people are realizing, We were treating this program, this is the worst of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Every child had to be checked at every step, even though it's the same child, we know their
Every day.
income, but we check them for breakfast, we check them for lunch, we check them for snacks, are they eligible? We want to make this more efficient. We have other indicators of whether or not they are poor or not, or they free or reduced price lunch. Get rid of that difference, save that money on the bureaucracy, plow it back into the program so that we can improve the nutrition, we can improve the safety, and understand that these children, they're poor in the morning and they're poor in the afternoon. And so to have access to school breakfast in the morning is terribly important, and that snack or whatever we provide after school is also an incentive for the child to participate in classroom mentoring, to do their homework, to get additional supports for them, and to do enrichment programs. So what we really see is that nutrition can be the driver of greater participation in the education programs by these children, and now they have enough nutrition to get through the day and to participate.
I always found it was a federal irony that children can go to school in the morning and get on the bus, and they don't test you and say, well, your parents are rich, they could have driven you to school. What are you doing on this bus? Yeah. And when the child goes into the library and checks out a book, they say, well, your parents are rich, you could pay for this book. Why are you checking out, why are you using the library? There's no means test to get on the bus. There's no means test to check out a book. But when you want to get some food, there's a means test. And sorry, you have to stand in this line because you're poor. Well, how many kids want to be in front of their friends and peers, want to be designated as the poor kids?
We went through that. We had separate payment programs. We stigmatized the children. All that did was allow their health to deteriorate and their interest in school to languish. And we can't do that. We can't afford to lose these children. They need the education. We need them to be educated. They need to be healthy. You know, we tell the old story, this child nutrition program, these programs were started by the federal government because they found that during World War II, people who had poor nutrition, they couldn't participate in military service. Now we find that they're obese, they have really bad nutrition, and they can't participate in military service. So we have this great opportunity to educate kids. You, in your school districts, in my school districts, I now go to a school garden. They're using it for the biology class, they're using it for the zoology class, they're using it for the art class, and they're eating the products of their garden. And kids are now understanding the richness of fresh fruits and vegetables, whether it's little small tomatoes or it's parsley that they're putting on the other part of their school lunch programs. And it's very exciting to see that.
I visited a program in East Salina. It's really cute because they're doing kindergarten, first grade, second grade kids. And they're trying to get them to get friendly because, you know, food's very cultural. Things that you eat what your parents tell you to eat and teach you to eat. And so the school was trying to get kids into fresh fruits and vegetables. So what they started off with sort of fruit salad concept. And first of all was to get the fruits, an orange. So the question is, what color is it? Yeah. Is it round or is it a banana? Is it oblong? So you got color issues of identifying colors. You've got sizes and shapes for sort of geometry issues. You've got biology because you go out in the school garden and you see how the growing goes, and you have to give them water. There has to be the plants need sunlight and water, and they learn that. And then they take them and cut them up and make them into fruit salads and serve them. And one of the things, because kids like it for spelling and the name, kiwi fruit. It's got its own character. So what happens is that the manager of the Safeway store in East Salina starts asking the principal, what's going on at your school? Because the parents are coming in here and the kids are saying, hey Mom, you got to buy some kiwis. They're really good for you. He says, I've been selling more kiwis than ever in my life.
There you go.
So it is having an effect on being able to educate kids as to nutritional values and so on. And I'm so pleased that sometimes we argue here all the time of how to make government more efficient. And they always say we ought to run government like a business. And I guess, it's very interesting how we collect taxes in the United States. We have the income taxes, which essentially is that the benefit of the doubt is given to the filer. We don't go out and cover every source of income you get. The government doesn't. It's an honor system. And you file it and you pledge that's, I've signed your things, that this is what it is. It is what it is. And then what do? We go out and audit. My God, have we ever thought about doing that for children and eating? Maybe we just give kids food for hungry kids and audit it later on, or find out a better way. I think there's so much savings that could go into the benefit in the long run.
Well, and
there's healthcare. It's all about healthcare.
There's huge savings, and there's certainly huge savings for healthcare. If you don't deal with the issues around obesity and diabetes in children, you can see what explodes in the adult population. So an opportunity to educate children about healthy eatings, about what sugars mean and what fats mean and diet and the rest of this can avoid billions and billions and billions of future healthcare dollars. We know that if we're going to deal with healthcare costs, that we've got to deal with heart disease, with diabetes, with obesity. These are the huge new drivers of healthcare cost, and they're showing up younger and younger. So where you may have taken care of my father with heart disease when he was 50 years old, you're now taking care of people with heart disease that are 30 years old. So just start to think of what this means in terms of healthcare costs. And this is within the power of every family to take personal responsibility and educating the kids. Look, how did we get people to stop smoking? We educated kids about it. They talked to their parents. Why do people use seatbelts? Their kids were educated about it. They came home and said, Mommy, put on your seatbelt. Dad, put on your seatbelt. I don't want you to die. And now families put on seatbelts.
And then we've done that with recycling.
Education has mastered most of the difficult problems in this society. So if we work with education and with the nutritional opportunities, we have a chance to really dramatically drive down future healthcare costs, because these kids are going to be smarter, they're going to live that life, and they're going to see it. And they don't have to go to the salad bar, but they're going. They don't have to ask for kiwis, but they're asking for them. They don't have to take a snack in the back of the classroom late in the afternoon, but they're walking back and they're getting it, sitting down, and they're going back to doing their work.
It's very interesting, George, that the military, I represent a lot of it in Monterey County, the military is one of the biggest buyers of fresh fruits and vegetables, because they've long learned, and I learned this, you and I had jobs, and I worked in the Forest Service as a firefighter, that essentially you learn that the first responders, whether it's military or Forest Service and others, the first responder is a human being, and it's the body that is essentially the tool. And if that body isn't healthy, it can't climb the mountain to put out the fire. It can't respond to a call-up or deployment. So they're keen on nutrition, of making sure soldiers eat well. And what do they eat? They eat fresh fruits and vegetables. There is more interest in feeding first responders well than feeding children who want to grow up to be in those jobs well. And that is one of the big issues facing America. If we don't turn this curve, we are not going to have people to fill those jobs because of their lack of nutritional
well, this is a real opportunity, because the leadership of Michelle Obama, when you see her with the children, the children get so incredibly excited about this. It's a role model. Parents are picking it up. More and more celebrities are picking it up. You see it on the cooking show and the Food Channel. There's more and more healthy preparation of foods. So this isn't some crazy government mandate. This is really about showing people how they themselves can take responsibility for being healthier. Their children can be healthier. All of the brain research tells us what this nutrition means to pregnant women, to a healthy baby. That healthy baby is much easier to take care of for parents. Critical linkage there between the behavior of the newborn infant and how parents view that child, if they're healthy or if they're not healthy. And it really changes behavior within families.
I was just thinking, I can't help but laugh, because I was thinking, when I first met you, we were 10 or 11 or 8 years old, I was a tall, skinny kid, and you were the short,
heavy kid.
And look at how much you've learned. You're now the taller than I am, and leaner, and you've learned this process. And I still have some ways to go. Well, and thank God
we have personal treatment programs for you and fresh fruits and vegetables. You should be eating nothing for it. You come from the fresh fruit and vegetable capital of the world.
I got to be the model of.
You got to be the model
of svelte Congress members.
Yeah, Mr. Carrot, Mr. Celery, Mrs. Tomato, you can go together.
I eat that. I'm big on that. But let me just go for now. What's the process here now?
The process is we've introduced the bill. It's getting great support from health organizations, civic organizations, obviously school nutrition organizations, teachers, parents who really want this brought to their school. the resistance that we saw a few years ago, or somehow this was a government dictating policy, parents are now demanding healthy foods, as you pointed out, for their children. And we see it, the private sector is supporting this legislation. They know they're not going to be able to continue to sell soft drinks on school campuses. They know that's inconsistent. California led the way in that. It's agreed to. So we have many of the food processors who historically have fought some of these policies now are shifting their own commercial private products to healthier eating, reduce calories, reduce fats, all of these things that we know really have an impact.
And
on
university
health.
feeding programs being driven by students who want organic and fresh and local and all of the good things.
You used to go into a university. My son went off to the university, and with his card, and we went to the cafeteria. And went, oh my God, what's this? Now they're insisting upon health bars and salad bars and all of this changes. So the question is, are we going to use this to catch that wave and to help this next generation of young children be healthier, smarter, more attentive, focused, being able to really benefit from the educational opportunity? Because again, we cannot ignore the fact that for millions of kids, this is a day-to-day proposition of whether or not they will have sufficient nutrition to carry them through the 24 hours. And it's not because families don't care. There's just a lot of families that do not have enough resources in this economy, for the rent and the utilities and the food and the transportation as they try to hold themselves together. This is a critical program.
It'd be ideal if we look at this. I mean, your jurisdiction over is the school nutrition program, and there are other programs. There's the WIC program for women, infants, and children. There's the as we mentioned, the food stamp program. Now use a debit card program. There are other community feedings. I wish we would just break this into two feeding programs. One, you have a community feeding program for everybody but the kids who are in school, and then you have a school feeding program, because right now you have within the schools, some schools you have breakfast programs, snack programs, lunch programs, after school programs, some kind of supper programs, and then if those schools are all, and they're run for regular year and summer, and it's each time you have to qualify me to wipe out all that bureaucracy.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to draw. We're trying to say this is the program. How you choose to offer it, give them that flexibility. In my district, over the last couple of years, we've had these exciting summer feeding programs where the kids get engaged in education, they get engaged in healthy exercise, in games, in learning opportunities, enrichment programs, and they get this during the summer so we don't lose this. We know that poor children, if they're not engaged in these programs, they lose much of the advantage they got through the school year. They start out behind against the rest of the population when they come back to school in September.
It's a big thank you to you for accepting. I put together a task force of nutritional leaders in schools, and they recommended 12 recommendations that we do in reauthorization, and you accepted every one of them, and I'm very pleased.
It was easier than arguing with you, Sam. No, the hearings that you had and those discussions you had, and we talked about it on the airplane flying back and forth to California every weekend, really were helpful because they have allowed us in this bill. I'm so proud of the efficiencies that we're obtaining in this bill. We have bipartisan support, and we're very excited about going forward.
Well, you're going to be very cost effective too, because you're going to make you're going to have better bang for the buck. And we're going to put, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, we're going to put in the House side doubled what the Senate has put in. The Senate is too cheap right now. We got to work that out. But without your leadership, you're going to do the markup pretty soon and vote on it?
That's what we're having those discussions right now with the leadership about getting this done in committee and how do we get it to the floor. The Senate has reported it from committee, so they're ready to go to the floor. So we're encouraged that we get this done this session. That would be the most encouraging thing, because there's so many good things to flow from this bill.
Well, thank you very much. We haven't talked about it, but it's also going to be an economic help to California. Because if you look at the diets that I'm supposed to be on, whether it's the South Beach diet or the Stillman diet or the Who's diet or this diet.
I like all of them together myself.
But you know what? The one thing they all have in common is the foods you're supposed to eat are all grown in California.
No, it's very important.
We're still the #1 ag state, and if America ate what California grows, we'd be a much healthier country.
Yeah, no, there's a huge component of the healthy diet is grown within the boundaries of the state lines of California. And the extent to which more and more schools, more and more communities pick this up, that obviously is a benefit. But you also see it, one of the things we try to do this is match up the small farming communities to schools. Up in Solano County, in Contra Costa County, we have a lot of small farmers who participate in the farmers markets. They participate in various programs throughout the community. And how do we set up a process which they can make their small farm grown products, and how do we use it to bring children out and let them see where foods are grown? We're working with farmers in Green Valley and Solano County that have a lot of farms, small specialized crops, connecting them up. There's a lot of places to educate children that aren't in the schoolroom, and this is one of the places.
And I'm really pleased because your committee is not just education, it's also the labor committee. And what I've noticed is, in labor movements in America, certainly the United Mine Workers, we honor the mine workers. If you're from Pennsylvania, you honor the auto workers. If you're from Detroit and from Michigan, you honor the aerospace workers that are in the Boeing factories in Seattle and so on. And one of the workforce that we haven't really honored yet is the farm worker workforce. And so what you find is kids who won't admit, ask, do your parents work in the fields? Nobody raises their hand, and the teacher will tell you every one of them. So part of this is bringing this incredible bounty of fresh fruits and vegetables that their parents have harvested, and to bring some honor to that labor force.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a huge economic engine, and with the critical part of this is people who go out in those fields all 4 seasons of the year, whether it's cold or foggy or hot and humid and all the rest of that, who are out there tending this product that's going to go worldwide. And they absolutely should be honored, and it's critical to the California economy.
Well, I think in that part of that education, where does your food come from? And that question that the adults are asking, where does my food come from? Is it fresh? Is it safe? Is it healthy? Is going to be part of the classroom curriculum. It will also, the benefit that we'll start honoring the labor force of the parents of the children who have been really toiling in the fields. So this bill has got all kinds of sidebar benefits that I want to praise you for.
Well, thank you for all your involvement. I mean, you've driven this in a new and modern and efficient way for our committee, and our members are really excited about the components of this legislation. But your hearings and those reforms were just critical for us to go forward.
Thank you for being on this program. It's a great pleasure to have you. Who would have ever thought when we were 9, 10 years old we'd be sitting here in the United States Capitol talking about the future of healthcare.
We were just thinking about catching those trout.
Well, I want to thank you for watching. This has been another Focus with Farr, and I hope you've enjoyed the program. Please let us know. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
For more information, contact one of Congressman Farr's district offices. You can also reach Congressman Farr in Washington or visit his website.